Hi, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today we're going to be taking another peek at the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle because there was a little expansion, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. I had started to do this in conjunction with another little neat thing from Deviant Moon that Miss Melissa sent me, but this part ended up taking longer than I thought, and so I decided to just do this on the Mildred Payne, and so this is a bit of an intro after I've already done the video, so that's why it won't be quite a smooth shift there, but that's what's going on. So if you've watched my channel and if you've just paid attention to some general murmurings in Oracle Decky kind of community areas, you probably have heard of the Mildred Payne Oracle here. I don't know if the exact name is I think it's the Mildred Payne Oracle by Deviant Moon. So they are, Patrick Valenza is the creator of the Deviant Moon Tarot, as well as the beautiful and witty and funny Triumph de la Luna, which is a Marseille-based deck. And also at Halloween, they did this, he did this beautiful little, and it has this whole story of being found in a insane asylum, hem of an insane asylum girl who was committed to the insane asylum, and her hem of her dress that they found while excavating this insane asylum out. And there was a secret cartomancy deck. So it's very fortune-telling style, very Lenormand, Sibylla, Kipper, that kind of a style of a deck. And it's really a great little deck. It's quite well balanced. It's quite interesting. It reads really well. I really love this little deck here. I don't have it, right now I have it in a bag. I don't really keep it in the box, which is good because the whole deck's not going to fit in that box very, very shortly. So I don't remember when these actually came out. I don't know if they were released at Halloween. I don't know, but maybe it was at Halloween that these came out. So this would have been before Halloween. And then we got a message that they, whilst continuing to excavate, they found, I believe it was like a stuffed animal of hers that they opened up and found 13 extra cards, right? Just the whole story, and the things that they have going on. Okay, had a little recording issue there. I'm not sure what happened. I'm gonna try to keep going here. I'm not sure where it cut off. Oh, here you can see right here. Upon examining Mildred's haunted doll, Claire, our scientists discovered a crudely drawn heart on her chest and decided to operate. So with a knife in hand, they made the first cut and find something odd tucked inside. With great care, they extract a small red envelope in pristine condition. Let us now reveal the contents of Mildred's cryptid message to Claire. So the first deck comes with a kind of paper with the different meanings, although they're quite, easy to just run with what these things might mean to you. They're not real difficult to come up with ideas for what they might be. But they do give you an extended one for the extra 13 cards here. So the other one was a 52 card deck, so the size of a regular playing card. Now this takes it to 67. They of course have a Mildred Payne aged 9 before the tears started, which is kind of scary if that's what she looked like before the tears started, because look at those creepy eyes. So we have that. There was extra things that came with the original one. I don't keep my extra cards in with where they belong because I actually use these decks, so who knows where they are, but I will just add this to my collection that I have over here of miscellaneous extra cards. But this is really awesome, right, in terms of packaging. Here we have the red envelope. We have a big, thick kind of wax seal with the M on it for Mildred. which I really, to be honest, don't want to ruin, but I also want the envelope open. I'm going to try to do some surgery of myself and carefully, there we go, pull up that envelope. And here in this paper, oh, look at what do we have here. There is a map, it looks like. Oh, it's like a letter. I mean, come on, how awesome is this? It's so much fun, as well as being, but the thing that's really neat is that it's not just fun, but it's also very functionable, and that's what's neat. So here's the letter, October, yeah, it was Halloween, October 31st, 1933. Darling Claire, my furious rage knows no bounds. No longer will I tolerate a life of persecution and imprisonment. Come what may, I shall have my fiery revenge. Although they have taken our secret pocket oracle away from us, these remaining cards will find sanctuary within you. Fear not the roaring flames to come, for I have cast a powerful spell of protection around you. Until we reunite, M, never forget, love rots the heart. And then it has something going on here, perhaps some sort of spell here going on. We've got stuff going on over here. Of course, the insignia that we see with the skull and the wings. And then what appears to be a map with a coffin buried underneath the X. Obviously, this is probably the asylum and the city to the outside. We have the graveyard and the hangsman's noose here. It's really awesome. Really, really awesome. I'm going to put this back in here. Actually, I can go ahead. I wonder if it will fit. Might. Let's see. Yep. Put that card back in there. So there we have that. And we have what looks to be a Ouija board. Okay, this may take longer than I thought. So we have of the cards what looks to be like a Ouija board. Always get your corners right. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here's a corner. Here's some numbers in the bottom bracket. Here's probably a top black bracket. E, F, G, H, I, J, K. It looks like, I'm guessing, a top bracket. We'll have to play around a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's our A and our B. Here's a corner. Here's more numbers. And here's a side. I feel like we must, oh no, because that would be the side there. So look how awesome. I haven't done the actual full one of this yet. I meant to do it on Instagram, but I did not, or on Halloween, I'm sorry, on Instagram. I meant to do it on Halloween, and I never got around to it, which is too bad. I'm going to have to give this I think is much easier. Oops, let's see, something's not right here. Okay, obviously the moon. You're all over there watching, paying more attention, saying, Kelly, look. How awesome is that? But yeah, I mean, bravo to Patrick Valenza for just making a really fun deck here. Now, I don't think they're going to actually be in order. Let's flick them over here. Like that. And let's see, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, oops, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, and 67. So here's our extra cards. I will put a link in the description box to the original Mildred Payne walkthrough so you can see the rest if you haven't seen this little deck. But here we have Iceberg, sort of like the mountain card in Lenormand for obstacles. We have the B for work, productivity, obviously working and communicating with the people around you. We have the wonderful pipe for peaceful outcomes. It says tranquility, comforts of home. You're sitting at your fireplace with your pipe. We have the axe for conflicts and disputes, but also cutting something down to size. And you can work hard. You can make progress through chopping wood and things of that nature. We have the frog for transformation. We have Saturn here, which is interesting for adversity and hardships. It also has male sexuality or dominance, authority, and control with that. I think this is the only planetary. We do have a star. Here we have a ribbon for happy times, festivities, innocence, hope, and feminine beauty. We have a stump here for something that ends prematurely, a resistance. I don't know if I would necessarily read the stump that way. You can, again, go with whatever works for you. A foot for stability and balance. I'm just reading a couple of the key words. A pitchfork for rebellion, individualism, a violent uprising. Of course, you can, and that looks a little bit more like a trident, but you could also use a pitchfork for work. It kind of works a little bit like a scythe, right? Not for work, but, you know, for it serves to purpose. You can actually use it to accomplish something. At the same time, it can be lifted up in as a weapon. I love that there's a lighthouse here. Strength to weather a storm, something to help you navigate troubled times and spiritual growth. I love that. I love an arrow because in my charm casting set, I use an arrow as well, and I really love it. I probably would use this a little bit more like that, but has setting goals, success. Also can be that Cupid's arrow of falling in love. Dove for peace and harmony and prosperity and good health and good wonderful things. An antidote for a remedy to a problem, so a cure to a problem. I love that. And then we have the star card, which is for hope and sense of clarity that the star can bring. So we have the star and Saturn pop up. So that is what we have, some new cards. I quite like it. Now I think I might, of course, obviously I'm going to need to color. And actually, before I go shuffling these in, I'm going to go ahead and color these and then come back and take a look at something. Okay, I've colored the edges, and I've also started to kind of just take a peek at the balance of this deck. It's something I need to do. I've done it for Lenormand, and I need to do it for Sibylla. But while I had this out, and I've been thinking about that, Mr. Andy, who is what I lovingly call the author of a really great Lenormand book, which I will put in the description box below, he talked about Lenormand cards in that sense of not just positive and negative, but positive, positive, neutral, 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 negative, and negative. And I kind of did Lenormand out. Quite like his. I have adjusted a few of them. I'll see if I can find the video where I do that with Lenormand, but I think I'm going to be doing actually a video pretty shortly where I do a lot of different the Kipper Lenormand and kind of compare and contrast that in that manner. But I thought I'd kind of see where these cards stood in relation to that. And the new cards are definitely overwhelmingly positive. Now, I'm interested to see if that's because maybe there was a little bit of an imbalance with the original deck, and so putting those in maybe is going to bring everything more into balance. But we have 3, 6, 9 cards that, if going by his definitions, now again with Lenormand, I have a couple that go in different categories and some people might put it in, and I am going to kind of redo this all and how I would place these cards. But going by his, we've got 9 positive cards, very positive cards, 4 negative cards, Yeah, this one's kind of iffy, as is this one, because the frog is about transformation, but it can also be about disguise. It can be about disappointment, something unpleasant. I wouldn't necessarily see a frog that way. Definitely in transformation. I don't see it as something unpleasant, so to speak. So, you know, how you intend to read the cards, what is your kind of gut reaction to what it stands for, is more important, and how you're going to use it than anything. But just kind of as a base, starting from the actual meanings of the cards in the pamphlet, you actually have quite a few more positive ones than negative ones. This is definitely has keywords for both. So even if you use the axe, you've got 5 negative, 9 positive, and 1 that you can kind of read both ways. So we have that. Oops, I should leave those sort of. I'm going to leave it as he wrote them first, and I'm going to go through the rest of the deck and see where we stand. Okay, I've kind of split these up, trying to stay more towards the actual meanings written down, and, you know, not exactly how I might particularly read them. And definitely there are more positive and what can go one way or another than there are negative, because I do think some people see this as negative, but there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 of what are just overtly negative cards here. I'm trying to see if I have a piece of paper. So to what I would call the negative end of things, we have 15. Again, how more going off of the descriptions in the cards than maybe what I would see them. So, for example, I do think it's interesting that the new Saturn card is adversity and hardships, and it's male sexuality and dominance. Like it's definitely putting male sexuality as combined with dominance, authority, and control. Whereas the card that would relate to female, we have the Spider as strong and powerful female energies, carefully designing one's life. So the kind of feminine energy. You've got the significator cards, but in terms of the energies here, this is kind of negative versus the female positivity here, positive female energy there. So I, would probably read those a little less spread apart. But again, keeping it as it is, we've got 15 here. And then this, of course, would then... But I did want to point out that there are some sets like this where you have kind of feminine energies and masculine energies here. Then these can go either way. So for just a couple examples, again, going off of his meanings, you've got natural cycles, but you also have lunacy. So it can, go either way. For the mirror, you can have self-reflection, but you can also have vanity. For the 52, for the Ankh, you can have secret knowledge and life, but then you can also have exalted power and perhaps a misuse of religious power. For the cat, you can have resurrection and independence, but you can also have misfortune and bad luck. And I won't go through all these, I'm just giving you some examples. The octopus is greed and entanglement, but it can also be high intelligence and multitasking. So it's kind of, it can go both ways. And of this chunk, where it can, depends on the question, it depends on the situation. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 cards that could go either way. So I'm just putting them in the neutral because it technically is neutral negative and neutral positive. It's on both sides of the spectrum. And I think I said, oh shoot, did I say 18 or 16? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. I'm probably wrong, but I'm not going to recount it again. And just, you know, roughly, well, we got to be exact. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. That could go either direction. It's got positive and negative traits. I kind of set these aside just because I was looking to see if we had a representation of the 4 elements. We have water, we have fire. Technically, if we took pentacles, right, you could use a pentagram, but that's really all the elements. But you could use that for earth, and not really anything specifically for air. So there's not. I was seeing if I was kind of wanting to see if they had that. But fire, again, would go here because it has it as passion and creativity, but also consuming emotions and utter destruction. So that would go there. And water, let's see, 18 is purity, change, life, subconscious thoughts, and mystery. So that's pretty positive, or possibly positive neutral. So we actually have 20 that could go either direction here in the middle. These I kind of felt were somewhat neutral, but they aren't neutral in the sense these can go either direction. Well, this might, you know, I was kind of doing some thinking as I went. This is knowledge. Yeah, this is actually quite positive. Omniscience, knowledge, vigilance, honesty, bearing witness. So it's just what you see. Now, you know, in my personal opinion, this would be more neutral because what you could see may be positive and what you see may be negative. So that to me has to do with the circumstance. The same thing with 20 in that you have travel, moving forward. But where are you traveling? Are you traveling somewhere good or are you traveling somewhere bad? That could go either way. But in terms of keywords, there's nothing really negative here. So maybe positive neutral is where I'm kind of putting these. Same thing with ear, hearing news, listening to others, being aware. These are actually really positive, but look at how messy my fingers are. But, you know, again, as with the seeing, okay, you could hear things positive or you could hear things negative. That could go in either direction. But in terms of keywords, it's pretty positive. These are positive. I just wanted to talk about those separately here. So let's look at positive cards. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, which is what our neutral is, and then 2, 4, 6, 7. So we have 27 positive cards. Again, going more off of his, not how I might or might not do them. And then a couple here, what I would call probably positive neutral and or just plain old neutral. These might actually be best smack in the middle, which would put this at 22. This was definitely more positive in terms of definition. So if we went purely by definition, we've got 28 positive, 22 neutral, and 15 negative. Of course, these two are just significators, so I don't consider those one way or another. So, if anything, it's skewed slightly to the positive, although some of these are like spiritual cards, which I don't, you know, that can be just a state of being, not so much to do with positive or negative. So, you know, you can argue all these. I didn't sit here and have great deal of thinking. I just looked at the thing and then just threw it one way or another. So, if anything, it's skewed more towards the positive than the negative here. And it's fairly balanced in terms of cards that can go one way or another. So that is the breakdown. I just think that I've heard, you know, oh, this is a creepy deck and it's, you know, going to be skewed towards the negative or that kind of thing. And that actually is not the case, which is good to see. Again, positive and negative to me is a very questionable way of picking anything, because It depends on the question. Some things that seem like it might be negative aren't really negative. Just what is the question at hand? What is the situation at hand is whether or not it's going to be positive or not. It's hard to put a positive spin on a hag, right? And this is where it comes that, I haven't tried it with this deck, but possibly using reversals might be an interesting way to approach these cards, so you get even more nuances, which is also an interesting try. Can't really riffle shuffle these, although I wish you could. So in a way, it would be much easier to shuffle these or to work with these and keep them from flipping around, which is going to happen if they were slightly bigger. That's the only argument, or the only negative I have for this deck, is I would have loved it to be poker sized. Just because I think they're awesome and they're easier to shuffle when poker sized things. So as with anything, I haven't worked out all the significators, like is there a, one that I would use for work and one that I would use for love. There's heart for love. Work, you could use the axe or the pitchfork. Both of those things are used to do work. So you would kind of want to, if you want to use those kinds of significators, obviously you want to kind of pick those out ahead of a time. But here, if I want to look at spiritual things, I would look to the lighthouse. But I'm just going to find the female girl card. Oh, there she is. So 1, 2, 3. I do like that there's now a poison and an antidote card. I love that. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So then you can make your 9 card. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we've got a little bit of some of the new ones too. The star and the dove. And the arrow, which I love, showing up at least in my charm casting. So for me, when I do a 9 card, I always look to the upper corner. So we would look at as overall arching messages about happiness and festivities. Of course, we're coming on the time of the holidays, and bows, you think of a bow on the top of a tree or in the trees. So we certainly have festivities going on as well. I really like this because if we're talking about that idea of how the holidays coming up and festivities coming up, we have the dove here, which is the idea of peace and harmony. And so we also have the poison card though, and that's pretty easy to interpret, right, as not allowing something to poison that peace and happiness, not allowing things to go in, because I really like actually the use of the stick here. I'm just I would read it one way, but let me just see. Branching out on your own. It can be both used for power or abuse. So I would say you use that to smash the bottle of poison, right? It's you needing to take an active, or me, because this is obviously me, take an active step in smashing anything that's going to poison the peace of the times coming forward to do with around the holidays that we have here. So that's pretty nice. I love the star above it as a symbol of hope here, that sense of clarity, that I need to not allow for negative feelings and negative emotions to ruin the peace here. I need to be active in taking care of that problem. Underneath my feet here, I have the Ankh here about secret knowledge, being aware, having that awareness there underneath, awareness of life and awareness of the gift that is there, the good things there. So I quite like that. We also have here the arrow, number 64, which is a new card. Setting goals, right? Setting goals. How are you going to deal with the poison? How are you going to make sure you take care of that situation? Smash it with a stick. You do have the tooth in the past. The tooth can be losing something that you considered permanent in a difficult separation. cards are very, very blunt and personal, aren't they? So yes, I did lose something that was very difficult to lose in the past. That definitely impacts my holidays and definitely tends to cause, you know, disturbing, disruptive emotions and feelings that definitely eat away at the peace of the holidays. And I am taking steps to plan ahead and to deal with that, and so that I can still enjoy the holidays. So thank you, Mildred Payne, for giving very nosy and blunt readings. But you can see it's a lovely little system. I can't say enough about this card set, and it was so much fun to have a little expansion come out like that, and that was a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching it.